Attacks by the M23 rebels are causing large-scale displacements in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo and tensions with neighboring Rwanda. UNICEF has warned that thousands of children fleeing fighting in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo are at grave risk in overcrowded and unsanitary camps for internally displaced people. As the scale of the crisis escalates with new IDPs arriving daily, humanitarian access is becoming more restricted because of the deteriorating security situation in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Fighting in the east of the DRC between the Congolese armed forces and non-state armed group M23 has intensified since October 20th, 2022. According to a recent UN report, over 200,000 people have been displaced from their homes. Now, joining us live from the United Kingdom to discuss this is Tatiana Giraud. She is the founder of TG Foundation, a UK-based charity helping victims of rape and war orphans and violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo. A warm welcome to you, Tatiana, and thanks for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me, Benga. Thank you very much. It's nice to be on News Central.
Now, Tatiana, what's the current situation of things in the Eastern DRC and how bad is the displacement?
Yes, well, the current situation really in the Eastern DR Congo is very critical. The Rwandan-backed M23 rebels who were forced out of DRC in 2012 have re-emerged. They're taking vast parts of the territory of the Eastern DRC, Kivu region, and they are a few kilometers away from Goma, which is one of the key cities, mining cities in the region. So as a result of that, tens of thousands of people have been displaced. And currently we have a situation where we now have a 250,000 Congolese civilians who are internally displaced as a result of the ongoing conflict that is happening at the moment. So, you know, we have situations at the moment in one particular camp just outside of Goma where they don't have enough food, they don't have enough water, they don't have adequate tents. Some of the tents are see-through. People are dehydrating and collapsing from dehydration, and the only real aid at the moment is provided by volunteers who live in Goma, so civilians who've decided to take matters in their own hands to help these internally displaced people.
So quite a dire situation you painted there. Mass exodus of people fleeing the violence that has been caused by the fighting between the M23 and the Congolese army. Now, what are some of the immediate needs of these displaced people, and what are the long-term effects of this displacement, especially on children, women, and the most vulnerable people?
Well, obviously, you know, the M23 has a very notorious reputation for rape, using rape as a weapon of war, and sometimes, you know, extremely violent tactics to terrorize the women of Congo. They also take children as child soldiers. Historically, they've kidnapped children as child soldiers. So we're extremely concerned about the women and the children on the ground, and the men as well. But, you know, obviously, we've had grotesque sexual violence committed by the Rwandan M23. In one case that had been reported around 2012 in the Sunday Times, they had actually gang raped a woman who was trying to escape Goma at the time, and then whilst she was still alive, they poured petrol on her and burnt her alive. So to say that women and children, we need an assurance of the safety of women and children at this time who have been displaced is really an understatement. We still have groups of children who are war orphans in Goma, for example, where we have various programs to help war orphans and women there. And, you know, these war orphans now are at risk again of becoming child soldiers. So, they're some of the most vulnerable individuals in war zones are basically in this region of DRC. So, guaranteeing for the international community to be able to help us to provide aid, adequate tents, food, drinking water, medicine, and above all else for the international community to help us to guarantee that the women and the children who are in these camps and who are having to escape their villages and towns because of the war are really in safe areas when they reach these IDP camps.
Now, Tatiana, what's your charity, TG Foundation, doing to help the plight of these displaced persons in the Eastern DRC?
Well, we were already partnering with a grassroots organisation in Goma who help war orphans and women affected by the war. So we provide education programs, food programs, sanitation and hygiene programs. And obviously now with the emergency situation, we're keen to, well, we are officially launching today an emergency appeal fund so that we can start to help fund the internally displaced people's camp that is just outside of Goma, which is in, real need of help. As I've said, I've witnessed video footage from that particular camp of a young man collapsing from dehydration because they just don't even have enough water. We're not even talking about sanitized drinking water now. We're just talking about just water. They don't have enough water in that camp. So the basic human rights needs, like water, like food, like medicine, and also just safe tents as well. Many of the tents in this camp are see-through, which with women being in the camp, especially in children, is just not adequate at all. So we really need help with adequate tents in this camp as well. The ideal situation is that the international community puts more pressure on Rwanda and Uganda to stop supporting the M23 rebels and to ask for their immediate retreat from the Congolese territory. We've had almost 3 decades of this.
And do you think that that's what it will take to end all of this suffering and violence and bring about lasting peace to the Eastern DRC?
Well, as you know, TG Foundation focuses a lot more on the humanitarian side of helping the people of the DRC, but we do some lobbying and advocacy. My understanding is that there is still a large Hutu community who are in the Eastern DRC. Those reparations, those reconciliations between the Rwandan Hutus and the Rwandan Tutsis that, were a result of the Rwandan genocide, there really needs to be negotiations between those two Rwandan groups, so that the Hutus who have been now in the DRC since around 1996 can have a way of going back to Rwanda. I mean, this really political issue has nothing to do with the Congo, but the repercussions for the Congolese people have been horrific. And I think that definitely needs to happen. But more importantly, we need the international community to really start taking decisive action against the Republic of Rwanda for their ongoing, support for the M23 rebels on a military level and on a political level. Without this, it's going to be extremely difficult for this war in Congo to stop, essentially. So, we have a problem here in the United Kingdom where, despite the human rights violations committed by Rwanda in Congo, they still remain in the Commonwealth, and so does Uganda. Despite the human rights violations by Rwanda, Arsenal Football Club is still in a very public sponsorship deal with the Republic of Rwanda. And whilst obviously I'm very conscious that I don't want to start a narrative that is anti-Rwanda, because that's not what I'm saying here at all. We don't hold the Rwandan people responsible for what is happening in the DRC, but we certainly do hold Paul Kagame and the government of Rwanda and high-ranking officials in the government of Rwanda responsible for the human rights violations that are happening in Congo. A UN Security Council report, I believe, was published, which I couldn't find today, but was published in August, that clearly said there was concrete evidence that, you know, the Rwandan government was backing M23 rebels. So.
Thank you very much, Tatiana Giraud, for your time. We do appreciate your contribution and insight.
Thank you very much, Benga. Thank you.